Chapter 11, Divine Exercise Strength revealed Chen Tianhe felt that Chen Xiang's true qi was unusually strong, but he also had quite a unique breath, the likes of which he had never seen before. He gave this matter some serious consideration, then said, "Let my son represent me in this battle. If he were to lose, then the patriarch's position will belongs to your brother. Moreover, he will also return that 1,000-year blood spirit grass back to you." Chen Tianhe's proposal meant that he believed Chen Xiang had a chance of winning, which made Chen Xiang feel no small pressure in his heart. He turned around, looked at Chen Tianhe and saw Chen Tianhe showing a trace of warmth in his smile while nodding his heart. "Well then, allow me to come and settle this matter with my own two hands." Chen Zhenhua came from the crowd to the center of the field while his face was full of contempt and his pair of eyes, which were looking at Chen Xiang, were filled with pride. At such a young age, he had already entered the 5th level of mortal martial realm. Chen Zhenhua ignored Chen Xiang's young alchemist achievement while showing an arrogant approach. Seeing this, many elders of the Chen family inwardly shook their heads, because they all know one alchemist has the potential to raise many powerful martial artists. The seriously injured Chen Hehai with a sneer said, "Young men sure are filled with youthful energy. If in the process of fighting, what will happen if someone were to die? Accidentally killing Chen family's talented alchemist, I will be scolded to death by those old fellows." Chen Tianhe did not speak, he was seriously contemplating this. Chen Hehai slightly smiling, "If you are determined to make your alchemist son go to battle, and if by chance some mishap happened in the middle of fight, everybody can only wonder that he had half-baked skills. Rest assured, if I was injured or killed, it will be my own responsibility." Chen Xiang said, he knows if his father could not become the patriarch, even though his son is an alchemist, he still will be vigorously suppressed by Chen Hehai, because in the eyes of Chen Hehai he is a big threat. Everybody clearly heard, this is what he said. "Since it is this way, then let him first contest with my son, and if he wins against my son, it will be clear that he has the qualification to battle with my younger brother." Chen Hehai's face was filled with a happy expression, because he concluded Chen Xiang was not that strong. Even if he was able to win against his own son, it was impossible to win against his brother. After all, his brother was in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Not only would he become the Chen family patriarch, but also be able to recapture the 1,000-year blood spirit grass. Chen Zhenhua, after getting his father's permission, with face full of contempt said, "If you get seriously injured due to my carelessness, you cannot blame me. Who told you to bite more than you can chew?" Chen Xiang with an expressionless face, turned towards Chen Hehai and asked, "If I win I can fight instead of my father, right?" "Ha ha ha." Chen Hehai laughed, "Yes, but you have to win first." The people who were supporting Chen Hehai began to laugh. Chen Zhenhua, while performing the Kung Fu courtesy of covering one's fist, with a sneer said, "I will not be lenient." "Ed, Kung Fu courtesy of covering one's fist start," shouted Chen Tianhe with an imposing look. As soon as the word left Chen Tianhe's mouth, Chen Zhenhua quickly jumped and rushed towards Chen Xiang. His movements were gentle and elegant and his hands were held high facing the sky. But just a moment later, a fierce wind surged forth and a golden aura began circulating around his hands and it instantly formed into a giant golden axe. The Chen family's high-grade spirit-level martial skill, the Heavenly Sun Axe Strike. It can transform one's true qi into a weapon with a strong offensive power. A person exclaimed, and a high-grade spirit-level martial skill was difficult to learn, but its power was huge. Chen Xiang stood there motionlessly, just staring at the incoming axe. When everyone was thinking that he was scared due to fierce metal true qi, and seeing that true qi transform into a golden axe that was about to smash his head. Fierce qi surged out from within Chen Xiang, and he opened his mouth and emitted a thunderous roar. Similar to that of a dragon, it made everyone's eardrum tingle. The most shocking thing was that what came out of Chen Xiang's mouth was a large amount of azure-colored true qi, flying towards Chen Zhenhua and inundating him. The true qi transformed into an azure dragon, the kind of diffusing vicissitudes of an ancient dragon and shocking everyone around. It could be seen that this true qi was very strong and couldn't be practiced out from an ordinary sutra. When Chen Xiang emitted the dragon roar, everyone present near the field became transfixed. They watched Chen Xiang with a face full of surprise, and if they had not witnessed Chen Xiang emitting this tyrannical true qi, they wouldn't have believed it. Chen Tianhe saw how amazing his son is, and it made him extremely proud, excited and slightly agitated. The complexion of Chen Hehai and his followers became extremely ugly, as they were well aware of how frightening that true qi was. Chen Xiang's azure dragon roar instantly shattered Chen Zhenhua's heavenly sun axe strike like as if it were glass. The true qi storm that surged from within his mouth contained a very frightening and destructive power. Chen Zhenhua's entire body was filled with bloodstains. This azure dragon roar was also from the azure dragon divine exercise. The dragon roar produced by Chen Xiang was similar to an original dragon's roar. Its might would devastate both a person's heart and soul. Also from within his mouth a lightning and windstorm burst forth, and the power of the wind was similar to a knife attacking the enemy. It was incomparably overbearing. No one even dared to blink, for the fear of missing something, and Chen Xiang did not disappoint them. Just moments after Chen Xiang's roar, his body flew like that of a dragon, appearing instantly in front of the still dazed and panic-stricken Chen Zhenhua. Chen Xiang's fingers stretched and an azure aura flashed from his arm, taking the shape of a dragon's claw, strong and vigorous, and surged with the extremely tyrannical azure dragon true qi. Just like how an eagle catches a rabbit as quick as lightning, he caught Chen Zhenhua's head and grasped it instantaneously. The claw opened abruptly, like a dragon's claw. The claws were as sharp as knives and the scales were clearly visible. With the sudden appearance of an azure dragon claw covering the head of Chen Zhenhua, a sharp and slaughtering qi burst forth, and everyone's heart shook. They all saw that after Chen Zhenhua's head was covered with the dragon claw, he emitted a pitiful loud scream, and Chen Zhenhua retreated a few steps while vomiting blood. This was the azure dragon claw, the super strong offensive martial technique of the azure dragon divine exercise. Everyone saw Chen Zhenhua's bloodied body and his face was full of horror. They were having a very hard time believing what just happened. Chen Xiang defeated Chen Zhenhua in a flash and in such a beautiful way. Bang! Chen Zhenhua fell down, and everyone was shocked. They felt cold in their spine and only now confirmed what had happened. Abnormally powerful azure true qi, a strange and frightening martial technique, emitting a tyrannical power, and all of this was all done by Chen Xiang, who did not even have a spiritual vein. Chen Hehai watched his son getting severely wounded and he could not help but vomit blood. He saw Chen Zhenhua was still breathing and converged his qi with his son. Although Chen Zhenhua was covered with multiple scars, he was not seriously injured, which showed that Chen Xiang was holding back. Chen Hehai looked at Chen Tianhe with a face full of gratitude while Chen Tianhe just smiled at him. This can only be blamed at his half-assed skills, it's no wonder he got wounded so easily. Chen Xiang said dismissively. Chen Xiang's expression in his eyes were clear, neither cold nor dull. I can now fight on behalf of my father. Chapter 12, Battle of Great Disparity. Not only was Chen Xiang such a young alchemist, but he had also entered the 5th level of the mortal martial realm. Even with such accomplishments, he had neither shown any arrogance or pride. This subtlety had made the Chen family branch commanders and elders secretly appreciate his behavior. Chen Xiang looked at the middle-aged man standing beside Chen Hehai. He was Chen Hehai's little brother Chen Yuhan, a 7th-level mortal martial realm practitioner. He was a handsome man with a beard. He gradually walked towards Chen Xiang and had not spoken since the beginning. Chen Xiang was to do battle with him, but he only had the strength of a 5th-level mortal martial realm practitioner. No one dared to leave, as such a thing had actually happened in the Chen family patriarch election and it was something nobody had expected. Chen Yuhan saw his nephew being defeated, but he did not even show a trace of anger, and with a mystical smile he said, "No matter how talented you are still going to lose against a 7th-level mortal martial realm expert." Chen Yuhan had to admit, if Chen Xiang were to be given a few years' worth of time, then he would not even stand a chance against him. But that was the future, and presently the chance of him winning was a 100%. Chen Yuhan practiced with ice true qi, and in the Chen family, this type of true qi practitioner was special. Out of the Chen family's junior generation, none dared to challenge a senior who was at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. If they heard someone attempting this before, they would think of it as madness. No one would believe it, But now that all of the Chen family members saw how fierce Chen Xiang's techniques were, their hearts were filled with uncertainty. But most of them still believed that Chen Xiang would lose. After all, not only was there a large gap in age, but also in strength. Not to mention Chen Yuhan had practiced many high-grade martial techniques. Even his true qi was much more vigorous, and not a single young practitioner had the capability to compete with Chen Yuhan. A battle of great disparity, where the gap in power was too large, was about to begin. Everyone was watching quietly as this was the deciding match to determine the next patriarch of the family. Chen Xiang had practiced the Azure Dragon Divine exercise for only 2 months, and he had the Yin and Yang Divine vein. He had spent a large amount of time absorbing the spirit qi between heaven and earth, enhancing the true qi within himself. After all, he was simultaneously cultivating 5 true qi whirlpools that had 5 different kinds of attributes, so his true qi was much more vigorous. Also, between the 5th level True Qi realm and the 7th level True Aura realm, there was the 6th level Divine Sense realm. Divine Sense was, although the cultivation of your spirit, it could congeal a kind of controlling True Qi type spiritual power. This provides major assistance in controlling True Qi, and with time, it could also strengthen one's True Qi. After having cultivated the Divine Sense, one can then start cultivating the True Qi Aura force. Chen Yuhan was at the 7th level True Aura realm, and he could use his fierce Qi Aura. It was not something that True Qi could match up to, so he had absolute confidence that he would be able to defeat Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang's frightening martial skill could deter everyone, but those who had knowledge regarding True Qi could see that Chen Xiang's True Qi was very immature and it could not be compared to Qi Aura. However, it was still very powerful when compared to others in the same level as him. Chen Yuhan gradually moved towards Chen Xiang, and with every step he takes, the temperature dropped rapidly. Freezing cold air was blowing all around, and most people could see that Chen Yuhan was on the verge of a breakthrough. The icy true qi of his was extremely strong. Chen Xiang was not too far away from Chen Yuhan, and he felt that this kind of freezing cold was most profound. At this time Chen Yuhan congealed out True Qi Aura, which can only be achieved at 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Chen Xiang used the vermilion bird True Qi within his body, which was a fire-attributed True Qi. After being affected by the cold Qi, Chen Xiang became stimulated. The vermilion bird True Qi started rushing from within his dantian into his numerous bones and forelimbs. After feeling the comfortable warmth brought out by the vermilion bird True Qi, Chen Xiang's body was finally restored from the sudden stiffness. He Chen Yuhan's sinister laugh resounded throughout the entire area, and suddenly a white icy qi started overflowing from the center of his palm. The threatening freezing cold qi aura was clearly discernible and directly rushed towards Chen Xiang's head. Chen Xiang saw that his opponent was making a move, and he slid forward, as slippery and flexible as a snake. Sliding quickly to the front while trying to avoid Chen Yuhan's attack, he also unexpectedly attacked. Chen Xiang's treading was flexible and mysterious, and both of his hands transformed into dragon claws. Mesmerizing Azure Dragon True Qi overflowed from both of his hands, and this was the same Azure Dragon Claw used to defeat Chen Zhenhua previously. But this time, he brought out a dragon claw from both his hands, which caused everyone to hold their breath in anticipation. Humph! Chen Yuhan emitted a cold sneer, and 2 icy qi palms boldly shot towards Chen Xiang's dragon claws. When Chen Yuhan's palms struck Chen Xiang's dragon claws, a cold qi gushed out and Chen Xiang's pair of azure dragon claws suddenly shattered. Chen Xiang's arms were covered with a thick layer of ice, and frosty qi was permeating into his body and causing his entire self to stiffen up. Chen Yuhan smiled coldly, and from his feet frost congealed out and he slightly jumped. He vigorously kicked Chen Xiang's cheek, which flung Chen Xiang 10 feet away. Chen Xiang fell on the ground, his cheek sheared due to the sharp ice, and drawing a few scars. The ice which was covering his arms also broke, but both his hands were actually frozen stiff. The Tai Chi diagram from the divine exercise started revolving and absorbing the cold Qi flowing inside his body, while allowing the fiery vermilion bird True Qi to surge into his arms, getting rid of the cold pain. Chen Xiang now only realized that even though he had a divine exercise, the gap between the two of them was still too large, but he had to win. Ha ha ha, I have to acknowledge that out of all the geniuses that have ever been born in the Chen family, you are the greatest one yet, but you and your father are too arrogant. Chen Yuhan with an evil smile, step by step moved towards Chen Xiang, as he was in no hurry to kill Chen Xiang. He wants to tear Chen Xiang into numerous pieces in front of the Chen family members, to show his strength and deter everyone. Suddenly, Chen Xiang with a flip actually stood up, and everyone thought he was seriously injured from the kick a moment ago, but it looked like nothing had happened to him. Including Chen Yuhan, everyone was surprised. On the sidelines where Chen Tianhe was watching, he let out a sigh of relief while transferring qi to heal himself. Seeing that Chen Xiang had not taken that much damage, Chen Yuhan leaped forward. Moving with elegance and gentleness, for everyone present, this agility skill was pleasing to the eye. With Chen Yuhan approaching, Chen Xiang felt that he was inside a world full of ice and snow, and below his feet were covered with a layer of frost. Chen Yuhan leaped, and the freezing cold fist felt like it was strong enough to shake the skies. His fist instantaneously landed on Chen Xiang's chest, and blood started to flow from where he was just struck, but it was immediately covered with frost. It is the profound ice aura energy. A high-grade profound-level martial skill, releasing it can even pierce metal and break stone. Chen Tianhe spoke with a dignified tone. After being hit, Chen Xiang almost simultaneously dodged the incoming flying kick coming from Chen Yuhan, resulting in Chen Yuhan's kick to be covered with a layer of ice when it landed on the ground, and shattering a large amount of bricks, and it also crushed stones from the shock and froze them. Casting Qi Aura has two weaknesses: it consumes true Qi and divine sense quickly, but if he does not use Qi Aura, you will not get injured. Chen Tianhe said. Chen Xiang knew that he could only drag the battle on. Chapter 13, Fusion of the Five Elements. Well, it's useless. I have a very large amount of true Qi. You probably won't be able to drag it out for long and be the first one to fall. Chen Yuhan objected. He resumed his onslaught against Chen Xiang, delivering countless strikes against him. Even before the flurry of attacks, Chen Xiang was injured. Now that Chen Yuhan continued to keep up the pressure, he was confident that Chen Xiang would soon die by his hand. Chen Yuhan blasted fist after fist, continuously attacking with his profound ice aura energy. He also delivered the attacks from a long range away, so that Chen Xiang could not retaliate and only endure. Ha ha ha. Just a moment ago you kept on proclaiming that you must fight on behalf of your father. But now look, you don't even have the strength to resist. Chen Yuhan emitted a shrill laugh. On Chen Xiang's body, many bloody holes were emerging due to the strikes caused by the profound ice aura energy which burst out from the inside of his skin. Chen Xiang took a deep breath while revolving the Tai Chi Yin-Yang diagram within his body. With the help of his spiritual power, he controlled the five elements of true Qi stored inside his body and proceeded to fuse them together. The five elements of true Qi started to converge. Right now, the only chance of winning for Chen Xiang was to simultaneously use the five elements of true Qi. However, after the five elements of true Qi were done fusing together, it would become intrepid and wild. His current meridians were not be able to bear the strain. Fusing together the five elements of true Qi had never been attempted by anyone before this, mainly because nobody ever had the opportunity. Chen Xiang was the first to embark on this mysterious domain which could be called pure insanity. If he was unable to control the Qi, Qigong deviation would occur and as a result Chen Xiang would die. However, he was successful. Although he felt his meridians threatening to rupture, within his danshan, the five elements of true Qi had actually been perfectly fused together. But it was still much harder to control, and a large amount of true Qi was lost from his meridians. Chen Xiang knew that he must act quickly, before the true Qi was exhausted. He needed to use this frightening power to defeat Chen Yuhan. A violent aura suddenly exploded from Chen Xiang. Chen Yuhan's heart could not help but thump, as the true Qi that suddenly appeared gave off the impression of an overbearing and tyrannical nature that would not hesitate to destroy anything in its path. Chen Xiang's body was in pain due to the impact from the violent true Qi, and he could not help but howl in pain. Suddenly, visible oppressive Qi waves started to pour out. A howl engulfed everything around them like a sea, as the whole field fiercely shook. All the bricks near Chen Xiang started to shatter. Everything in the entire world was constituted of the five elements. By fusing together the 5 elemental forces, it would contain the heaven and universe. At the moment, Chen Xiang had fused together the 5 elemental forces and formed the universe's power, the universal true qi. Fall down, from within Chen Yuhan's body, an icy qi burst forth. The more he felt threatened by Chen Xiang, the more he wanted to end the battle and quickly defeat Chen Xiang in order to prevent him from being victorious. Lightning was flashing in Chen Xiang's eyes. He moved towards Chen Yuhan with large strides, and the soles of his feet were filled with the universal force containing a destructive nature. Each of his steps broke the floor tiles on impact. The momentum from his intense speed was like that of a herd of 10,000 steeds. Profound ice aura energy. Chen Yuhan eyebrows twitched as he looked at Chen Xiang. Both his fists moved together as 2 more intrepid freezing cold aura energies sprayed a cold qi strike towards Chen Xiang. At this moment Chen Xiang's mental state was similar to a maniac. In his mind there was only one thought, to defeat Chen Yuhan. The 2 profound ice aura energy were able to tear stones apart on impact. Chen Xiang roared as he caught the frightening aura energies with both of his palms. A layer of ice momentarily covered his arms, but was broken in just an instant while never stopping his charge. It only took a moment for Chen Xiang to arrive in front of Chen Yuhan. His pair of fists struck forward, each producing a true qi explosion. This turned out to be the very common high-grade mortal-level martial skill, Storm Killing Fist. With each fist, a true qi explosion would be produced, and it was extremely lethal, but in return it consumed a lot of true qi. As each fist moved through the air, thunderous qi waves were emitted. Yet even with this, Chen Xiang's fists were lightning quick. Fist after fist, the waves of blows surged without break, almost as if executing the storm-killing fist did not consume any true qi. Chen Xiang had cast the storm-killing fist with universal true qi. This frightening level of power made everyone's heart tremble. This level of attack was actually equal to qi aura. Chen Yuhan also had to use qi aura in order to resist Chen Xiang's wild storm-killing fists, which fell towards his body like rain on the ground. As he resisted each blow, his heart could not help but sink. The violent true qi explosion even made him feel fear. If even one fist managed to strike him, getting seriously injured would be unavoidable. Even after a few more breaths of time, Chen Xiang continuously blasted dozens of storm-killing fists. Chen Tianhu's eyes were wide open. His son was actually this incredibly valiant, but he could tell that Chen Xiang's situation was actually not that good. To display power which transcends one's limit was essentially damaging to their own body. Mother of R, Chen Yuhan continued to resist those crazy storm-killing fists. He could not help but curse. For everyone else, it was their first time seeing someone using storm-killing fist in such a peculiar manner. It was also the first time they understood that this high-grade mortal-level martial skill could unexpectedly become this frightening. The universal true qi was intensely draining for Chen Xiang's body. He was regretting in his heart. He felt that if the true qi inside him was consumed and Chen Yuhan was still not defeated, then he was doomed. Chen Xiang suddenly opened his mouth and let loose a giant roar. A dragon's roar resounded through the horizon. Chen Xiang ejected a violent clear true qi from his mouth, submerging Chen Yuhan's figure in one shout. This was the Azure Dragon Roar, but this time colorless universal true qi was surging out. Inside the roar was lighting, flame, water, ice, and various other kinds of attributes. Chen Yuhan did not expect Chen Xiang to suddenly cast a large move. He quickly retreated to open up a gap between them while operating his true qi. He started releasing his qi aura to create an ice cover to try and resist this violent true qi attack. Suddenly, in Chen Xiang's hands, appeared a broadsword that was gleaming with a cold light. TLN, broadsword. Chen Xiang's whole body was emitting a violent true qi. He pulled back the blade and with a yell, poured all of his remaining true qi into the blade. This let loose a burst of glaring azure aura that exuded a sharp dragon roar that cracked stone and penetrated the clouds. The sight was mesmerizing to the hearts and souls of those present. Chen Xiang leapt into the sky. His blade that was boosted with azure light left only a blur to be seen. Slicing the air with irresistible force, the blade hacked towards Chen Yuhan's head. No, from the distance a voices resounded. The broadsword had been chopped downwards with an intent to split Chen Yuhan in half, but the blade stopped right next to his neck. Receiving that quick and powerful attack from Chen Xiang, violent true qi surged out in all four directions as everyone stood like a stone carving in situ, blankly staring at Chen Xiang holding that broadsword. Everyone was shocked speechless by Chen Xiang's crazy and overbearing martial might. How was he a waste with no spiritual vein? He is simply a frightening monster. A 16-year-old yet defeating a 7th-level mortal martial realm practitioner. It was simply a miracle. In addition, Chen Xiang was also an alchemist. Their family gave birth to this type of genius. This fact alone made many of the Chen family members' hearts incomparably excited. Chen Xiang Chen Xiang Chen Xiang. Many people were shouting Chen Xiang's name in unison. Within their hearts, their feelings could not help but give way to newfound pride. Before, everyone thought that Chen Xiang accepting the challenge of the Yao family genius would be similar to fighting a hopeless battle. But looking back on it now, Chen Xiang was completely sure about winning. Chapter 14, Immortal and Devilpool. Inside the field, Chen Tianhe arrived at the side of the injured Chen Hehai and Chen Yuhan. Facing them he said, "You and I were all competing for the Patriarch's position. I did not hope to end it such a way. We are Chen family members and we should all be united. If you refuse to accept me as your Patriarch, you can take your followers and leave the Chen family." Chen Hehai and Chen Yuhan both glanced at each other before looking towards Chen Xiang and heaving heavy sighs. Chen Hehai firmly grasped Chen Tianhe's arm. With a heavy tone he said, "I hope you can lead the Chen family. I, Chen Hehai, have lived as a Chen family member and even after death I will become a Chen family ghost. I, Chen Hehai, am sincerely convinced by the new patriarch." Chen Hehai and Chen Yuhan were not fools. They had gained insight on how frightening Chen Xiang's potential is. If he is cultivated well, soon he will have very good chances to become a fierce alchemist. If you could build a good relation now, you can reap the benefits later. It is not wise to offend a top-level alchemist. Plus, Chen Tianhe was now letting go of all the past enmities, which is good thing for them. "Two seniors, for the previous offenses please forgive me. For our Chen family to survive in these lands for many years, we must not have internal strife." Chen Xiang gave his apologies after arriving in front of Chen Hehai and Chen Yuhan. Chen Xiang's statements and actions caused many Chen family children and elders to secretly nod in approval. Although at such a young age he had already defeated a formidable elder, he was not proud, but actually very modest. This kind of subtlety is quite rare among many of the Chen family juniors. The Chen brothers were also somewhat ashamed. "My dear nephew, first go and recuperate. Dragging the injuries for a long time can be detrimental to future cultivation," Chen Yuhan said, while passing some of his healing dans. For the elder competition to reach such a conclusion, made the other elders quite satisfied. An elder with a clear and resonant voice said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the banquet will take place after 10 days, but I also request for everyone to stay after as well. By that time, many other families will have sent someone to participate. At that point, it would be a good opportunity for you to make friends with the other families." Chen Xian returned to his room. While looking at his scarred body, he could not help but let loose a deep breath. Just before, his fight with Chen Yuhan was very dangerous. Yet at this moment, his mind was excited because at the 5th level of the mortal martial realm, he has the strength to defeat someone at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. After giving his all in the previous fight, he also felt like his power level had somewhat increased. He had gained a lot of experience in utilizing qi. No wonder he had heard that in order to become a powerful martial artist, one needed to go through numerous battles. Just as Chen Xiang was about to take the healing pills, two auras reflected onto his eyes. He blinked, only to see Bai Yuyu and Sumi Yao with straight faces standing right in front of him. "You brat! Just a moment ago, you were too rash. What would we do if you had died? We have poured too much effort into your body," shouted Bai Yuyu with a cold expression. Chen Xiang felt a cold chill running down his spine. Sumiyeo stuck her tongue out and said, after considering the circumstance, "Devilish brat, you were somewhat courageous. This time, we will let you off the hook. However, next time you must be cautious. Take off your clothes, I will help you apply the ointments." During Chen Xiang and Chen Yuhan's battle, his body was covered in many cuts due to the icy true aura. His body was covered in numerous bloodstains. If it was not specially treated, it would be harder to heal. Thus, Chen Xiang was now lying on his bed enjoying the soft and tender hands of Sumiyeo applying some ointments, which made him feel very comfortable. In accordance with custom, the other families were invited to celebrate the newly elected Chen family patriarch. However, it takes quite some time for the other families to arrive, so the actual celebration is held sometime later. But at this banquet, everyone's attention was on the expected alchemy competition between Chen Xiang and the Yao family genius. Everyone was discussing this coming alchemy competition, so at this time, many people were coming to the banquet. Many came to see the Chen family get humiliated. The Chen family's security was very tight, so news of Chen Xiang's recent achievements did not spread. In the morning, a drop of azure essence was spat out by Chen Xiang. This dewdrop was congealed from his use of the dragon saliva exercise. He wants to grasp more alchemy techniques in the upcoming 10 days and wants to try refining a mortal level middle grade pill. At his age, to congeal a mortal level middle grade quenching body dan was enough to be compared with legendary genius alchemists, and even transcend many of them. You want to refine mortal level middle grade in this short time? It is somewhat difficult, but I Sumiyeo like to do these kind of challenging things. Sumiyeo's gentle voice transmitted through Chen Xiang's mind. Chen Xiang while laughing said, "Sister Mieo, then quickly teach me." Sumiyeo with a soft smile said, "Don't grin that happily. This will come with a price. Although you are quite skilled in refining mortal level low grade dans, and even have a bit of experience in refining middle grade dans, your spiritual power is not enough. You need to be at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Then, with divine sense, you will become able to accurately manipulate the flames, and with enough control, instantly congeal the dans." Chen Xiang, while nodding his head, said, "Well, on the side, I will accelerate the growth of the mortal level middle grade spirit herb, while elevating my power level. I hope to catch up before the day of the alchemy competition." Sumiyeo said, "In order to practice divine sense, you need a large amount of true qi and spiritual power to successfully fuse together into divine sense. There is a certain level of difficulty, but since you practice the Tai Chi divine exercise, this process should be a lot fast. Still, doing it in 10 days is doubtful." Chen Xiang let loose a small sigh. He has been too impatient and this was a big taboo. "Well, there is still a way to quickly elevate your strength." Sumiyeo said with a mysterious smile said. "How?" Chen Xiang asked quickly. Suddenly Bai Yuyu transmits with her ice-cold voice Immortal and Devil Pool. At this moment, Chen Xiang remembered that below the Immortal and Devil Cliff there was a strange pool. When he had fallen down there, he was able to breathe inside it. Moreover, the pool was also shining. But besides that, he did not discover anything special about it. "Is that the weird pool at the bottom of the cliff?" Chen Xiang asked with uncertainty. "Yes, you should know we were forced by our personal enemy into that pool." Sumiyeo words made Chen Xiang somewhat curious. It turned out, these two peerless martial arts girls were dropped there. In the end, how is that place mystical? The more Chen Xiang thought about it, the more suspicious he got. This was because that Immortal and Devil Cliff was perennially filled with death qi, yet for some reason there was no trace of death qi near that pool. After Chen Xiang learned that the Immortal and Devil Pool is out of the ordinary, he immediately mixed dragon saliva into the water, then poured in various spirit herbs and flowers. Following that, he greeted his father, and quietly left the Chen family villa, taking a trip to the Immortal and Devil Cliff. On the way, he listened to Sumiyeo describing things about the Immortal and Devil Cliff. That place is called the Immortal and Devil Cliff because that place was where immortals and devils are buried. That pool was transformed from the pure energy that was emitted from their corpses. Someone intentionally created that pool, and the death qi near its surroundings are also caused due to the overflow from the immortals and devils' corpses. Sumiyeo said. Chen Xiang was horrified. Immortals and devil are legendary beings and he completely did not expect their corpses to lie there. This also made him incomparably excited, if that pool truly is made up of pure energy and he managed to obtain it. Chapter 15, Vermilion Bird Fire Wings. Chen Xiang arrived at the Immortal and Devil Cliff while looking down at the black-colored death chi. He muttered, "In this world are there really immortals and devils?" Sumi Yao retorted with a soft snort, "Of course. Do not think that the true martial realm is the strongest state for martial practitioners. Above the true martial realm there are 3 further extreme stages, and then after this there is the nirvana realm. After a successful nirvana, one will be able to enter the heaven martial realm, reaching a huge spatial world, called heaven martial world. Do not think about those massive worlds. The world we are living in is called the mortal martial world and it is also vast. The spirit chi is very thin here, so there are very few accumulations of demon beasts. Those truly strong martial arts practitioners travel to places with very rich spirit chi. Their strong martial artists are as plentiful as the clouds and there are many demon beasts. However, it is also considered very dangerous. If one don't have a certain amount of strength, death is inevitable in that region." It was the first time Chen Xiang had heard about the world of martial arts and it surprised him. However, it also made him realize just how insignificant he was. Before he used to think the true martial realm was very powerful, but he never imagined that there were stages above the true martial realm. "Brat, this mortal martial world is vast, there are many mainlands besides this one. In some of these mainlands, there are many formidable martial artists and in this endless world, there are many hidden realms. In these hidden realms, you can find many heavenly forged treasures. While also being very dangerous, as long you have enough strength, you will be able to experience the vastness of the whole martial world. Currently, you just have to understand just how tiny and insignificant you are." Ba Yuyu said coldly. Chen Xiang tightened his fist. This time, he had a brief outlook of the world, and only by constantly elevating his strength would it allow him to take foothold in this martial world where the strong are as trees in a forest, sturdy and unmoving. Chen Xiang jumped down into the abyss. Currently, he was in the 5th level of the mortal martial realm, and there was a pool beneath him. Considering his strength, he did not need to waste time to climb down slowly. Splash! Chen Xiang once again entered the pool with white light emitting from it. Abyssal demon beasts frequently appeared next to the pool, but Chen Xiang did not fret about it, because the strength of these infested demon beasts were average and Chen Xiang's current strength was more than sufficient enough to deal with them. "Miao sister, how can I use the immortal and devil pool?" Chen Xiang asked while churning the strange water with his hands. Excluding the fact that the water was shining, he did not think there was anything strange about this place. Sumi Yao spoke. "After the death of the immortals and devils, a great multitude of pure energy flew out of their corpses, but you cannot absorb these energies. After all, it's not your energy. However, you can only use the energy to refine the body and the spirit. But it is a very painful process." Chen Xiang's brow wrinkled. "How long should I stay in the immortal and devil pool?" Sumi Yao, "I don't know. I suppose you can stay until you cannot bear the pain. You just have to jump inside the pool and start operating the Tai Chi divine exercise while simply trying to guide the energies into your body." Chen Xiang, without any delay, took off his clothes and jumped inside, submerging himself in the pool. He could breathe normally underwater, so he had nothing to worry about. Moreover, this protected him from the attacks of the demon beasts. After submerging himself, Chen Xiang began operating the Tai Chi divine exercise. Suddenly he felt that his body was being squeezed from all 4 directions by a bizarre power, as if to make his body to squeeze together to form a ball, which made him constantly wary. At the same time, a bizarre kind of energy madly rushed into his body. It continuously bombarded every part of his body as it flowed. He felt as if his body was about to burst. Every bone felt as if small insects were biting them and it was a feeling worse than death itself. Some blisters were constantly emerging from the immortal and devil pool, and the water also churned continuously. This was all because of Chen Xiang was frantically struggling in the pool from below. After an unknown amount of time, Chen Xiang's body started to float from the pool below. He was lying on the edge of the pool, and panting heavily. He said, "How have I not yet entered into the 6th level of mortal martial realm? Do you think you can break through this quickly? You are currently only refining the body so that your whole body becomes more powerful while also elevating your spirit." Sumi Yao's voice transmitted into his mind. Chen Xiang stood up, gripping both his fists, and felt his strong body. Although he had yet to enter into the 6th level of mortal martial realm, a solid foundation was set. "How many days was I under?" Chen Xiang asked. He had been subjected to unimaginable pain in the immortal and devil pool without any concept of time. "Only 5 days. Although this immortal and devil pool has little use, it still lets you practice the basics of the immortal devil body," Sumi Yao said. Chen Xiang's heart was secretly shocked about this immortal devil body, and listening to the name he knew it was very formidable. Immortal and Devil Cliff. In the abyss below there was a roaring burst occasionally, as well as a weak surge of strange true qi. The true qi was filled with the sense of an ancient atmosphere of vicissitudes, surging with an inexplicable pressure. That true qi was Chen Xiang releasing his Azure Dragon true qi by practicing the Azure Dragon divine exercise. Chen Xiang did not leave the immortal and devil cliff, but still practiced below with a bare chest. On his iron fist Azure true qi was boldly rising, continuously bombarding the cliff, and broken stones violently flew. His whole body was filled with true qi. He released numerous strikes making a small cave in the cliff, but his breath however, remained stable showing that his true qi and body strength were now much more vigorous. With every fist, true qi would rebound, directly surging from his arm into his head, and sudden spiritual power accumulated inside his brain, developing his brain and enhancing his spiritual power. This was one of the methods to practice divine sense. When Chen Xiang was practicing below, the commotion was not small. An originally silent abyss was now rumbling with sounds, resounding throughout the abyss. After 2 days, Chen Xiang felt his true qi was now full, and his spiritual power was much more enhanced, and as long as he opened his soul sea, he could advance to the 6th level of the mortal material realm, the divine sense realm. To break through one needed his spiritual power to be vigorous. TLN, divine sense, can be referred to spirit sense or simply soul. Since spirit is used in many places I used divine sense, and not soul because it felt appropriate because using divine sense felt better than using soul. Prepare to break through the level 6 threshold. Chen Xiang took a long breath. After 2 days of practice, he could feel how tyrannical his body was, and this was all due to the refinement in the immortal and devil pool. Chen Xiang sat cross-legged on the ground, closing his eyes and with rapt attention operated the true qi within his body. While releasing his spiritual power, he let the two blend, using spiritual power to sense the soul gate, and using the true qi to break it open. The profound heart law of the Tai Chi divine exercise was directing Chen Xiang's true qi and spiritual power to seek the soul gate hidden inside his soul. Soon, Chen Xiang saw a golden door as if it was right in front of his eyes. Seeing the door meant the divine sense realm was right in front of him, condensed right between the eyebrows, and moving with one thought. Azure true qi suddenly transformed into a claw, then into a solemn azure dragon. The true qi that transformed into an azure dragon gave a fierce roar and hit that golden gate. As the azure dragon hit the door, it blew outward with a bang sound. Chen Xiang saw a glaring golden aura. At the same time he opened his eyes and a tough true qi flowed in every part of his body, and he couldn't help but yell in surprise. The 5 elements of true qi violently surged out from inside his body, raising the fierce wind, and blowing out in all 4 directions. Is this 6th level of the mortal martial realm? Chen Xiang closed his eyes while feeling his internal vigorous and formidable true qi, simultaneously releasing his divine sense, and the slightest sign of trouble all around was within his grasp. Chen Xiang opens his eyes, slightly smiled, this time I can use that trick. Behind his back a sudden burst of fiery aura could be seen. The flames transformed into a pair of gigantic wings rising behind his back. A fiery aura burst out with a flash and heat waves rose, looking like a pair of phoenix wings. Vermilion bird fire wings. Fly. Chen Xiang's laughter came forth, as his fire wings fluttered upward, and just within a few blinks of time, his silhouette was gone into the black death qi. This is where the 6th level of mortal martial realm showed its power. By controlling internal true qi with the powerful divine sense to keep it solidified, Chen Xiang's internal true qi could be released outside, to transform into wings and fly into the sky.